Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Airgunners, and today on the bench, and in fact I'm going to take you out in the field a little bit, I have the Karma Airguns SLS. The rifle I'm going to be reviewing today is a 22 caliber standard length model, and I want to address what for some people will be the elephant in the room right from the outset. If you've followed my story at all, I'm down here in Florida working for DonnyFL. And Donny himself is part of he is part of Karma Airguns, or Karma Airguns is partly him. So there is no escaping the fact that part of my day-to-day job outside of Wisconsin Airgunners business is working for DonnyFL and working for Karma Airguns. So you can take that and twist it whatever way you want. You could say, I have a vested interest in this review going well. And you'd be right, I do. You could also look at it from the perspective that I have some behind the scenes things I can share with you. So if you're inclined to think that I'm being overly cheery about the rifle or in some way not authentic, I guess turn the video off, turn YouTube off, or Airgun 101, depending on where you're watching, turn that off and go watch something else that's more to your liking. If you want an honest appraisal of what this airgun is capable of, that's what I intend to do here today. There certainly are and will be other reviews of the SLS in different calibers, different configurations. And if you're looking at making a purchase, I would strongly recommend that you watch all of those and watch all of them with a critical eye. My intent is to, I don't have any plans to oversell this. I like this as a semi-automatic airgun option, and I think compared to other things on the market, it's priced pretty well. So, well, you watch the video and at the end, down in the comments, tell me what you think. So what we're going to do is take a look at trigger weight, talk a little bit about the adjustments that the airgun has, talk about some of the things that I've learned since starting the project of getting these guns ready to ship out. And then I'm going to show you some footage of an Iguana Hunt that we went out on a couple of weeks ago, and then a little bit of footage from a fun Christmas candy cane shoot we did amongst some of us here at the DonnyFL HQ. And the reason I'm including that in there is just to show you some 75-yard footage. So the SLSs came in a couple of months back. This is the first one I randomly grabbed off the shelf. It's the one I used to develop all the tunes that we program into, install on the other SLSs that we ship out. So what I have on this airgun right now is pretty much the base tune, and it's about how you would expect a rifle that you purchase from DonnyFL or Karma Airguns, or whichever of the dealers that work for you that you go with. So because it's unloaded right now, let's start off with a discussion about the trigger. This is not a match grade trigger, and no one should tell you that it is. We'll get weight on it in a minute. This trigger reminds me very much of like an AR-15 trigger. When you put it into use to get the best results out of it, my recommendation is you pull straight through. If you are trying to find a first, second stage wall and then a break after it, you may actually introduce some malfunctions. Pulling, not jerking, but pulling straight through is the best way to go when shooting, particularly in semi-auto mode. I have had some folks here at the shop and elsewhere shoot it, and what I've noticed is if you have somebody who gets on that trigger and then is really pulling slowly, like they're trying to find that break point and just line everything up perfectly. What can happen, because they're moving their fingers so slow, is the gun will fire and cycle, and instead of picking up the sear and setting itself up for the next shot, it will actually kind of bounce fire, I guess you'd say. It'll shoot twice, and the trigger is just pulled out enough where the sear can't reset itself. So you need to make a full and complete pull through, especially if you're in semi-auto mode, then bring the trigger forward, it'll set itself, and you can keep shooting. You can really pretty quickly shoot a whole magazine, but if you hold that trigger kind of in that middle limbo spot, you might get a double shot. Now that's a different double shot than a double feed. If you're in semi-auto mode and you have some sort of malfunction, it's possible in any semi-automatic, well, airgun, firearm, whatever. If you simply do the side lever again, you're basically going to pump another pellet into the system, and there may be one in there. And now you've got a double feed, meaning two pellets in the same breech space, and you're going to get two very underpowered shots. When I'm talking about this kind of double fire when the trigger's being pulled too slow, that's actually two independent shots. I've done it over the chronograph and seen actually consistent velocity readings on both pellets, and at 30 yards, because we've tested this to see if we could replicate it here on the indoor range, impacts within ½ inch of each other. So this is not something that you want to emulate, because I think it'll lead to, if you did this intentionally, trying to get it to do this, kind of some sort of burst mode or something like that, I think actually your trigger parts would prematurely wear. It's not something you want to try to do. You can avoid it just by simply, when it's time to pull the trigger, pull the trigger. Again, very much like what you do on a semi-automatic pistol or semi-automatic rifle in the firearms world. But let's get some weights. Now, I mentioned before, I know that the airgun is unloaded. I'm aimed at a safe backstop, so those relevant safety concerns are hopefully for you out of the way. So average of 4 pounds, 13 ounces. I have done trigger pull testing on a couple other of the other configurations, and that's pretty close to what I found, right around that 5 pound range. I am gonna rerun that in semi-auto, and I'll come back to how you switch between modes. But let's just see if it gives us any difference. So 4 pounds, just about 15 ounces. So pretty close to the same, regardless of whether you're in semi-auto mode or the side lever mode. While we're here, let's talk about that switching. So there is a button right here. I'll cut in a a picture of that, a little bit of a close-up. And this is one of the great things about this particular rifle. I've been in semi-auto mode, and if I want to switch over to side lever mode, all I have to do is push in that button. And now, when I pull the trigger, it doesn't reset. I have to use the side lever to reset it. You've already seen me put it in semi-auto mode, because if I want to go to semi-auto mode, I go back to this button, and I pull it out, and I'm in semi-auto mode. It's that simple. And to be honest, I found it to be very reliable. I have reviewed, owned other semi-auto air guns, and many of them struggle to be as easy to switch as this is, and some struggle to feed decently, and this one doesn't have any problems with feeding. In fact, I have probably a dozen tins through this particular rifle, and I should knock on wood, but I don't think I've chopped a pellet in it yet, which sometimes happens with semi-auto air guns. And yes, I have had some where there was an issue, mostly with that double feeding, and I've certainly made mistakes, like thought I was in, this is the big one, thought I was in side lever mode, fired it, went to do the lever, and loaded 2 pellets into the breech. I've done that a few times, and one of the challenges you have with a rifle that's so easy to switch back and forth. So let's do some chronograph work, I think, next. So we have a fresh fill, and I've got a fresh magazine of 25 grain JSB redesigns. The airgun itself will take a 300 bar fill. The testing that we did internally and all of our numbers on the Karma website are based on not 300 bar fill, but 4,000 PSI fill. And that's largely because we thought that was a more realistic field use. And this really is intended to be a field gun. I think you could certainly do well with something like this in like a speed competition if semi-auto is allowed, but really this gun is most at home out in the field. So we're gonna load up this magazine. I'm gonna fire 6 shots in side lever mode, and then I'll do 6 in semi-auto just so you can see what those speed numbers look like, keeping in mind that there are 3 different things you can adjust about this air gun in order to get it to a performance level that works for your use case. So side lever first. So 6 shots, spread of 6, average of 851. And if you wanted to increase that velocity, and trust me, you can crank some power out of this. All you would have to do is increase the hammer spring up till the point where your velocity starts to drop off a little bit. And at the reg pressure I'm at now, which is about 2100, I could easily get this over 900 feet per second just by adjusting the hammer spring based on where the regulator is now. And the regulator can go up pretty substantially from where it is now. You want less power, you can back off on the hammer spring. And in this case, I'd probably drop the rig pressure just a little bit. So I'm gonna clear this out and we'll do 6 shots on the semi-auto mode. Remember, semi-auto, just got to pull that guy out. Six shots, spread of 11, average of 842. So pretty close. I will say, as you shoot through the magazines, and there's probably a tune out there that I just haven't found yet. I've done a lot of tuning on this particular airgun, but you do see a slight decrease in velocity as you go through the magazines. It's not severe, but you will notice, you know, 20 or 30 foot per second from top to bottom the farther you shoot. So that is something to be aware of. At the distances we've shot, which are like 30, 50, and out to 75 is probably the furthest shot I've really taken seriously with the SLS. I'm not seeing a substantial drop in point of impact as I shoot through before I go back and refill the gun. So you probably are here to see a little bit of accuracy, and for that I'll need to set up a camera downrange. So back in a second. If you're new to loading these style magazines, it's fairly straightforward. What you need to do is rotate the cover against the spring pressure, and then you drop one pellet skirt first in the back. That'll kind of catch everything and hold it in place, and the rest of them get loaded through the hole in the cover, and these go in head first. So you just rotate the cover, drop in a pellet, rotate, drop, rotate, drop. The 22 caliber SLS mags hold 12 pellets, and the 25 caliber has 10 capacity. Once they're loaded in the magazine, pull back on the bolt and then slot in until it clicks, and then push the side lever forward and the air gun is loaded. This does have a push bar safety just above the grip, so pushing from the left to the right puts the gun on safe, and from right to left gets it ready to fire. Okay, let's shoot some groups. Now we're going to go over into semi-auto. All right, let's go take a look. End to end here in the warehouse, we're at 30 yards. So you see the bench way back there. And then come around to the target here. So the top two were side lever, and then the bottom were semi-auto. So that's a total of 24 shots, 2 magazines, 6 shots in each group. And I will do a little bit of analysis for you on those groups. So let's take a look at some of the other features of the SLS. I find the side lever cocking to be smooth. I like that it snicks firmly into place so you know it's there. You've got a nice big cocking handle. You can get 2 fingers on there if you want. As I've discussed before, switching from semi to side lever mode is super easy. So before we go out in the field, so to speak, and show you a few things, I'd like to just show you a couple of other features of the SLS. You have Picatinny rails on either side up front, and then a full-length Arca Swiss rail on the bottom, either for mounting to a tripod or in my cases, I have it here today with an Accutech bipod. There is a hook function, so when you pull this back, if you flip this lever forward, that'll actually hold the bolt probe out of the way. You might use it in the field for reloading, but it's definitely more usable and a really great feature for when you need to clean the barrel. And there's a barrel cleaning video over on the DonnyFL YouTube page. So if you're needing some instruction that way, you want to go check that out. The one thing I will caution you on, this is not an AR-15. This is not a firearm, it's an air gun. It's not built like an AR-15. It is not designed for use in combat situations. AR-15 controls are meant to be slammed into. Do not, while the spring is on, like just pull that down and expect it's going to shoot everything into function for you, or what in the firearms world we'd say into battery. When you release this, pull back, flip it down, and then go forward. Don't be like slamming into stuff. Push, not slam, okay? I mentioned the safety right here above the grip. On this side, right here, you have a little graduated window. This is to show you how much hammer spring tension you have, I guess you'd say, turned on. And to adjust hammer spring, you open the folding stock, and inside there is a receptacle for an Allen key, which allows you to turn the hammer spring up or down. And so you don't have to remember which way is which, there's arrows in there showing you which way is going to turn it up and which way is going to turn down, which is pretty nice. That feature is repeated right here on the transfer port adjuster. So let's say you have a really great tune, very consistent, exactly what you want, but for whatever reason, maybe you're heading into a barn, you want to drop that velocity down a couple hundred feet per second, like right now. That adjustment can be made right here. Just loosen it on the left side, turn the dial on the right. It's also graduated. So So we're looking right here. So you can make that adjustment and then tighten the hammer spring, or rather tighten the back side of that up. Your transfer port is set. When you're done shooting at that lower velocity, loosen this, open it all the way up, tighten that again. Nice feature for quick and it's very repeatable to get back to your original tune. So a nice feature there. I do like the solidness, I don't know if that's a word, but the lockup on the folding stock is very solid. And you have an adjustable length of pull courtesy of this AR-15 style buttstock. So you can switch this out for other buttstocks if you like. The grip is AR compatible. I would not do one with a beaver tail. Some people like that. This won't accommodate a beaver tail just because of the way the mechanism is built. You have a Picatinny scope rail up top, very familiar for most folks. So I've got the Element Optics Helix 2-12 mounted on here. I found this to be a really good complement for this airgun. The dialing is awesome. I don't mind the capped windage turrets because I really don't change those very often. But you've got the typical Element Optics really clicky turret up here. So that's easy and just works without me thinking of it. On the 22, I favor the DonnyFL Tatsu as a moderator for what it's worth. On the 25, I usually set those up with a Sumo. So you're not connecting directly to the barrel. This is a shrouded barrel. There are 2 baffles in there. All your semi-auto action stuff is inside that shroud as well. But it does come stock with a 1/2x20 end cap and a thread protector. So if you're looking for a moderator, you want to get 1/2x20. And in the 22, because you're not connecting directly to the barrel, I recommend going up. So a 22-25 out of the DonnyFL lineup. And then on the 25 cal, I would go with the 25-30. And like I said, I would use a Sumo on the 25 cal. The airgun does fill by way of a probe. I'm not a huge fan of probes. However, we will have this pre-installed for you. It actually is a threaded probe. So it's a probe, and if you wanted to take it out or if it was leaking as you were filling and the O-rings needed changing, you actually can put an Allen key in there and back this out and then change those O-rings if you need to. And there are O-rings that come in the kit or in the gun case. So you do have spares of that, but it will be pre-installed at least here in the US. The air gauge is located along the bottom, and the regulator gauge is towards the trigger. The regulator is externally adjustable, and you couldn't be more clear as to how to make that adjustment up or down. Of course, you can adjust up as much as you like without any worries, but if you're going to adjust down, you want to keep under 1/8 of a turn. And if you have more questions about tuning, we do have a tuning guide over on the DonnyFL YouTube channel. So a couple weeks back, we had an opportunity to go out with Travis from Tropical Trophies on an iguana hunt in South Florida, and I took this particular rifle with me. It was an impromptu, I got a call on Saturday and we were going out Sunday. So I was a little bit surprised and didn't have all the time I would have liked to set up the scope cam, but I had a new Firefly 10 Orion cam. It was sent to me by Hajimoto Productions. So when you watch this video, just keep in mind that the camera wasn't perfectly set up. I just didn't have time to do all the work that does need to get done when you set up a camera. Typically that's something that Haji does, but because he was sending this out to me as kind of a favor. I told him I wanted to actually do the setup work myself, but then this hunt came up faster than I thought it was gonna, and so I guess I shot myself in the foot on that one. So the footage isn't perfect, but I think you'll get the idea. This first shot is right at 30 yards. I'm shooting down a bank towards a canal, and this iguana just held position for me long enough to take a shot. So check this one out. Just gotta find him again.
Clump of green. Sassy?
Clump of green on the left, right?
Yeah, clump of green and right. He's at the bottom of that clump of green and grass. Too far up. Sassy.
Got him.
Got him? Okay, ready? You're still 30. Headshot, domed him. Good shot on that one. There's another set of binoculars.
This next shot was across a canal and about 55 yards.
That one's something.
And then these last two, I had seen the first one off to my right, and I got range, I think it was about 58 yards. And so I moved into a prone position to take the shot. And as I zeroed in on that one, the other people I was with saw an even bigger one, kind of in a funny spot on the top of this little ornamental tree. So I took the one on my side of the pond because we were shooting across a pond, and then let's just say some of the folks that were with me were having a hard time connecting. So I went over and provided an assist on that one. So let's take a peek at these two. Rolling.
58 yards.
Count down.
3 do it on the one of 1. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was. PJ definitely hit, and I think you did too. I'm not sure. You two shot at the same time. There's another one right there. Giant one right there. Look.
There it is. Got him. So this final clip that I'll share with you is from sort of one of our company fun shoots, which we do from time to time to create a little content for the DonnyFL YouTube page, and I'll throw the link to the whole video. But I wanted you to see my through the scope view on my first run. We're shooting candy canes, like not big, giant, like standard size, skinny candy canes. And we're set up at 75 yards, which you're outdoors. We're here in Florida. There's always some sort of wind, even though the range we're shooting on is a little bit sheltered. There is always something coming through. So there is, I wish I could tell you I had a perfect run, but I didn't, and I'm not going to lie about it. So this is just an opportunity to see the kind of accuracy that I'm seeing at 75 yards, which, you know, you're hitting a candy cane, it's thinner than my pinky. So pretty solid shots when you connect. So let's roll that. What kind of candy canes did you buy? I hit that one like 3 times.
It's like spinning around. Shoot at the base. There we go. I'm assuming that was PJ. Good job, PJ. Perfect. I was was like, damn, it's taking
That
longer than I
Firebird was
thought.
that Firebird was awesome, man. Through the scope. Boom.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, damn.
Well, thanks everybody for watching the review. We are here at the end, and seems like legit time to kind of sum things up. So what do I think about the Karma SLS? Aside from having some pride in having some influence in the project and being one of the people that was able to test prototypes of this airgun, I like the way it's built. There are other similar semi-auto airguns on the market that will look similar. One, I think ours looks a little bit better. So, you know, that's purely aesthetic, and you may not agree with me, and it may not mean anything to you. But I really do think this airgun has a great look about it. It has really good functionality. The semi-automatic works like it's supposed to. It's easy to switch between modes. If you're comparing this to other similar air guns, take off the shroud and measure the barrel. We use a better grade barrel. It's thicker, and I think that translates into better downrange accuracy. I don't know that I would take a 22 caliber into a 100-yard bench rest competition, and that's really not what this gun is set up for. But if you need quick follow-up shots, more often than not, your first shot is going to be a hit. It's an accurate air gun, and for a semi-auto, it's semi-auto fun to shoot, and I think that's really why many people are drawn towards an air gun like this. I like that it has ample rail space. Not only do you have Arca Swiss and Picatinny, you've got M-LOK all along the bottom of the tank, so you really have no excuse for not having a spot to anchor whatever accessories you need to. It's really easy to moderate, and even without a moderator, it's not super loud. The moderator does make a difference, and I'm almost always shooting someplace where as quiet as I can be is what I'm looking for. So definitely you have opportunities to moderate it, but even by itself, it's really not too bad. If you're looking for a semi-automatic like hunting PCP, you're gonna have a hard time finding one that has the features that this has, and it's not inexpensive, but it's also not as expensive as a lot of other semi-auto PCPs on the market. So I think it hits a pretty good spot there, especially because it works. If it didn't, I wouldn't have any excitement at all. The only problems I've had is when I forget that I'm shooting an air gun where I just need to pull through, and instead I'm trying to creep that trigger back, hoping I'm going to find something that, frankly, the way this trigger is designed isn't there. It's not a two-stage trigger, and it's not going to become one because you wish it so. So shoot it the way it's intended to be shot, and I think you'll get along with it just fine. I've put loads of rounds through this particular one, and it just goes unless I make a mistake with it. So very happy with it that way. So it wouldn't be a full review if there wasn't something to talk about that I wish I could change. About the only thing that I see as a challenge for some shooters, this is a robust air gun. It's on the hefty side. I'll throw the exact weight down below, but you know, especially as I have it set up with an Accutech bipod, if I'm going out in the field and planning on taking some prone shots, it's phenomenal because that weight contributes to a sense of stability in the gun, and it's kind of dead. You know, it doesn't move, and that helps you hit the target. If I was trying to offhand it, it's a heavier air gun, and I would be finding a tree or a post or something like that to lean up against. On the other side of that, it is a solid air gun. And for those of us who are out in the field with our air guns and know that they're going to be taking some knocks and abuse, but we need them to stay accurate, and, you know, dinged and scratched is one thing, but bent is entirely another. This is a very solid platform, and it's built to withstand the rigors of field use. This is not, well, I think it has a you know, kind of a Batman-like appeal. This is not designed, you know, to be a wall hanger or a safe queen. This is absolutely designed to be out in the field doing work, and at that, I think it excels. There is one other thing, now that I think of it, where I think probably, you know, again, given the magic wand, I would make a change. The labeling on the gun, the caution not to overfill it is listed in bar, 300 bar. Don't fill it over 300 bar. The gauges, unfortunately, are in PSI. So if you aren't familiar, there is a conversion between bar and PSI. They're totally different scales. They're not like a factor of 10 from one another. So you want to make sure you understand what you're actually filling to whenever you're working with something that's got high pressure air on board. And, you know, it's a small thing, but the gauges are in PSI as opposed to bar. So I might change that if I could. If you have questions about the Karma SLS, please feel free to throw them down in the comments. I will get you answers as quickly as I can. And if I don't know them, I will find somebody who does. Although in this case, I actually probably am the one who knows the answers. I thank you for watching the video. And until the next one, everybody, shoot safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you around.